Xero Shoes Mesa Trail II. This is one of my favorite trail shoes, mainly because it's perfection in fit. And I've run hundreds of kilometers in these, I've run 50k races in these. And when it comes down to it, I think this is probably one of the best trail shoes, minimal trail shoes on the market. So the question is this good enough for your foot? And that all comes down to the fit. I'm going to talk about that today. So with the fit, the feel, and the durability, and try and decide if this is going to be the right trail shoe for you. So I'm Nick from Barefoot Run Review, and over the years I've had hundreds and hundreds of different shoes on my feet. I've come to the conclusion that foot-shaped shoes are really the way forward. And also minimal shoes. They're a great tool to be able to actually improve our running and improve our foot strength overall. Doesn't mean you should wear them all the time, but it means you can use them as a tool to improve your running form. So back to the Xero Shoes Mesa Trail 2. Let's get into it with the fit. So the fit is one of the most important parts of any shoe. So you really need to know, is this the shape for you? So first of all, it's the depth. So this is a very deep shoe. So if you're somebody that's had a lot of bunching over the top of the shoe before, that usually means you've got a shallow foot. And with Xero shoes, because it's so deep, that might not be for you. But if you're somebody that has tightness over that midfoot in the past, then actually Xero shoes might work because you may have a deeper foot. And you have options with this shoe. So you have an insole, but it can be used without the insole. And that gives you a little bit more ground feel, but also it helps with that volume. So if you need a little extra space in there, try it without the insole, and it works pretty well. That's the way that I actually use them. So looking up towards this toe box here and the forefoot, it's got a nice wide toe box. We see quite a lot of ample room for the big toe here. That differs a little from some of the Xero Shoes models. I think this is a little wider, a little bit more forgiving, and that helps with toe splay, especially when you're dancing around, jumping over rocks and stuff. It helps to be able to splay your toes out and get a great balance overall. Looking into the heel, so this heel, super, super duper flexible. There's no structure to it at all. And I think that really, really helps with getting a great heel lock in there. So with this lacing, we can have a lace lock, which I usually use pretty much with all shoes, but this helps pull that heel round, and because of that flexibility, we actually get a really good heel lock in there. Otherwise, the midfoot still nice and wide as well. It's probably in the mid-range of barefoot shoes in terms of the width of the midfoot. And for me, I have averagely wide midfoot as well, and I find it fits really, really well. So if you're somebody with a narrow, shallow foot, maybe not for you. But if you're on the average side, getting towards the more deep and wider foot, then the Mesa Trail 2 could be a good choice for you. Lastly, this lacing mechanism here, they use their strapping system, and these straps actually run around the side of the shoe down to the sole here, and the laces actually loop through here and then pull these tight. And because of this flexible material we see on the side of the midfoot here, I find that you're able to crank down those laces and get a really, really good fit, but still get a comfortable feel in the shoe. And this usually runs through most of the Xero Shoes models. And I think this is why they probably fit perfectly for me and many other people out there. So, onto the feel. So this shoe is super minimal, especially for a trail shoe. It bends and flexes in every single direction. This is great if you want that true barefoot grounded feel, and you've got to be willing to put in the effort to ensure that you have the strength in your feet, the lower legs, and the ankles to ensure that you can actually run in a shoe like this properly. In the long run, I think that's the way that most people should go, but you've got to ensure that you ease into these types of shoes slowly. So with only 5.5, 6 mil of stack height in these shoes, you actually feel pretty much everything underfoot. I think that's great. I love being able to feel the ground and having the body react to sensory input through the feet. And you can add the insole in there that adds a few more millimeters, but you're still going to feel pretty much everything underfoot. A little trick that I do if I know I'm going to be going on some aggressive trails, then I actually use a rock plate from an old Ultra Superior, I think 5.4, and I slot that in there. It's like a little insole, I suppose, which just dampens some of the blows that you might get from the sharp rocks and things. But once your feet get habituated to the sharper angles of rocks and pebbles and things underfoot, you actually find that it's not too much of a problem anymore, and you actually start to like the feeling of being able to feel those rocks underfoot. So this upper, super flexible as well. So this actually helps when you're engaging the foot and flexing and extending the foot. You can actually use your feet to the full ability of like a barefoot running, basically. And this helps in collaboration with this flexible outsole to actually create a very natural kind of movement. And because of the flexibility of this upper, I never find that I get any pressure points at all. It kind of like wraps around more like a sock over the top of the foot and around the heel. So you never really get any of those points where you get rubbing or you have any harder materials which are creating pressure in any points of the foot. So this outsole, I'm not going to lie, it's not the best outsole in the world, but it does the job. So if you're in dry conditions, maybe sandy conditions, or maybe just dry rocks, then this outsole actually works really, really well. It's pretty good. Although you could talk about the durability being a little bit poor, and I'll talk about that a bit later actually. But otherwise, in muddy conditions, the lugs on these, they wear down pretty quickly, and over time, you're not going to get much grip because the lugs are just not deep enough for muddy conditions at all. So I actually run these in dry conditions, in rocky conditions, but I wouldn't take them out into the mud. So onto the durability of this shoe. So in the past, we've seen a few issues with Xero shoes, especially around the uppers blowing out prematurely, and even the outsoles wearing down a little bit too quick. And it depends what you think is quick. So personally, I've been running in these for hundreds of kilometers, maybe up to 600, 700, 800 kilometers, and they're looking pretty ragged, I will say, and even the outsole is wearing through, but it's still, I would say, runnable. So quite early on, I actually saw cracking in the heel. This is probably due to the flexibility of the shoe, rather than the rubber not being able to withstand that flexibility. And I was a little bit concerned, and I decided to keep running in them. And to be honest, it's not actually been an issue any further. Yes, there's cracking in there, but I ran through it absolutely fine. The other side is basically the wear, especially through the middle of the forefoot for me, and that's a personal thing. You may find it in a different area, but this rubber will wear. So you just got to be cognizant that even though there's a 5,000-mile warranty on the outsoles, you're likely not going to get to that 5,000 miles. And really, that's okay, because trail shoes traditionally only last up to 500 miles would be a maximum, really. So the fact that I've got them to 500 miles and I'm still going to be running in these, I'm still quite happy with the durability of the outsole. So the next thing is the upper. So the upper, normally you'll see them blowing out towards the side, and yes, I have just started to get a little bit of tearing around the side here. But again, I am at that maybe 800 kilometer marker, and I can still run in these. All the overlays still look pretty perfect. There's no peeling on those overlays going around the shoe. And even towards the heel, we see a little bit of peeling away from the outsole here. Again, it's still runnable, but I don't know how much longer I will actually get out of these. Could I push them up to 1,000 kilometers? Possibly, but it's something to be aware of. These shoes are not made to go 5,000 miles. Let's just say that. Another concern could be the strapping system that we see around the side, and maybe this actually snaps. And I've seen that in the past from some Xero shoes that people have had. I've never personally had the issue, but you can see it's stitched on to this upper here, and there's definitely a potential that this stitching could break. And at that point, well, you basically lose the lacing system around that area. So in the sense that the straps actually create a really, really good fit, it can be a downfall in the durability side of things, rather than just having a hole which is really, really hard to break through. The laces are really, really good. Just some old school, rounded, tough laces. To be honest, I would maybe want to see these on more shoes and more Xero shoes because they're super good. But overall, I'm actually kind of happy with the durability. I never really expect to get too much out of trail shoes, especially when I'm taking them into the high alpine where you can scuff against rocks. Maybe you're in the trees or in the bush, and basically you're scraping against all of those harder surfaces, and you've got to rely upon these overlays to actually protect the upper. And This is an older shoe now, and I'm still going in this. And I've actually run on the roads in this now because it's already wearing down anyway, and it's just a great feeling shoe. So I'm just utilizing it as much as possible now. I actually love the shoe. I If I didn't have so many other trail shoes, I would keep buying more and more and more pairs of this trail shoe specifically. That's because the fit is perfected for me. The slightly wider midfoot, the depth in the toe box, the heel lock being absolutely perfected. It just works for me amazingly. If that works for you, it's going to be a bit more of a personal thing. It depends on your foot. But for me, it's great. The feel of the shoe is also perfect for me. It's the fact that you get so much ground feel in a trail shoe with a little bit of protection, maybe around the toe box, and then a little bit through the outsole. It's just one of the best minimal shoes, minimal trail shoes that is on the market for definite. The durability, well, I'm happy with that. I can't say it's the best, but it works. And for the price, you actually get a decent trail shoe, which lasts just as long as anything else on there on the market. And you're going to get bang for your buck, basically. So I would take these out on runs where I'm going to be going on maybe some softer, drier surfaces. I will take them out into rocky conditions, but I'm just very cognizant that you need to go careful with your foot placement to ensure that you don't step on anything super, super sharp, or you end up striking the heel with a sharp rock or something like that. It's just all about being mindful of your foot placement when running in barefoot shoes in general. And then I'd say the only time I wouldn't take these out is if I was in really muddy, wet conditions. The grip on these, they don't really work in super muddy conditions. You need something a lot more aggressive. That's kind of true of many things on the market. I'd say maybe look towards the Scrambler Low from Xero shoes, or even the soft ground version of the Viva Primus Trail, and they could actually do a little bit of a better job for that. All in all, it's probably my favorite minimal trail shoe.